And welcome to the show. Yes, boy, what a beautiful afternoon, but we could have some rain on the way. We'll find out from Severe Weather Center 9. Hey, welcome to the show. This is Law 2020. That's right. Law 2020. We're asking the experts all weekend long. You can participate by texting us at 21232, going on the all-new News 96.5 app and hitting the open mic, hitting the call the station, or you could just simply pick up your phone and just call 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. Law 2020 is brought to you by your friends in the offices of the BCN Law Firm. You can reach them during the week at 352-394-2103 or 855-LAW-2020, 855-LAW-2020. Our usual starting lineup, Wade Boyette, Heath Nalos, or Brian Monk. And today, from bcnlawfirm.com, we have Wade Boyette. Wade, how you doing today, man? You're looking sharp.
Doing wonderful. Had a wonderful night last night at a charity event for the LRMC Foundation. A friend of mine, Cheryl, and a friend of yours said hello. So,
well, hi, Cheryl.
She's doing well, but we had a great night last night and looking forward to a beautiful Sunday.
We know a lot of people in common, but we don't know it until we talk to them.
That's correct.
And that name comes up because you've been around this area of Florida for a long time, my friend.
22 years practicing in Central Florida, so it's been really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I hailed here about 78. Okay, very good. Let us open up the phones at 855-297-9696. One of the things that every time something comes up in our economy, in our legal system, in our society, we have people who really want to help. We have lawyers who are going out of their way to do research to look for every possible way to help their clients. But then we have some, let's say, some provocateurs out there in the marketplace, that whether it be the internet or whether it be local things, they find ways to try to take advantage of people who are in need, people who are really suffering, people who don't know where to go. So all of a sudden, Wade, the person gets a letter from a bank or a mortgage company, and they say, we are foreclosing, you are in trouble, and then the phone calls start, and all this starts, and then they're solicited by
mortgage modification companies, people who are claiming to offer legal services, who aren't attorneys, everyone out there wanting to help them save their home or to get them back on their feet. And we see it all the time. And, when I walked in and I told you, I'd like to talk briefly about mortgage modification scams and different things that I'm seeing out there. Things usually come in waves. And, fortunately, the number of clients who are seeking assistance in mortgage modifications were slowing down. And we've started seeing a new influx, and the people that we're seeing coming in now are people who have hired companies and have tried to get a modification sometime for years and have been unsuccessful. And they were unsuccessful because of, some of the people who are trying to get them done weren't qualified, weren't even, weren't lawyers, weren't people that had any mortgage knowledge. I'm going to tell you a little quick thing that I saw this week that I thought was unbelievable, and I'm sure people out there who are listening ended up buying into it, falling for it. And I got a letter in the mail, and the letter said, you know what, everyone needs a copy of the real estate deed, and if you'll send us $49.95, we will go into. You have to have a copy of your real estate deed in your records. And it came from an official-looking company, looked like a governmental company. That was a company affiliated with the government, and it, made it like if you didn't have a copy of the deed, you were doing something wrong. Send them the $49.59. What they didn't tell you is that's public knowledge anyway. Anyone can go online, go to their county registry, and print off their deed. Mm-hmm. So it was just a company out there exploiting people, trying to get them to pay for services. And I see this all the time.
Oh my
I see it with, people who own corporations where it's, send us $120 and we're going to send you this plaque on the wall that you have to have, which isn't the case. But going back to mortgage modifications, I'm seeing a lot of different companies out there promising mortgage modifications or promising homeowners that they'll buy their home from them and rent them back to them for a few years and sell it to them, or they're promising that they can stay in the house. And these homeowners are spending thousands of dollars because their house is their castle. That's where their family is protected. That's where they feel comfortable, and they're getting exploited because of their fear. And what I suggest that anybody out there who is looking to get a mortgage modification, don't pay anybody money up front. If someone will do a modification, they should sit down with you and explain what your options are, what they can and cannot realistically do for you before they charge you a dime.
And some of these companies have some nice print ads or sophisticated ads and or billboards, but some of them even go as far as just putting a stupid plastic signs down the side of the road. There's a telltale sign that you're doing business with somebody who can afford a magic marker and a piece of plastic.
I see that all the time. We buy houses right on the side of the road. I'd see a lot of that. But in the mortgage modification world, you'll sit up, and especially on late night TV, you'll see commercials that look like the commercials are run as a part of a governmental program to help you save your house. And if you ever call those, one of the first things they do is they get all of your information. And then they'll, tell you, send us $2,500 and we'll work on your modification. Or I'll see a lot of the commercials that claim to be counseling services. And, the counseling services will tell you, we'll negotiate with your lender. Send your payments to us, send your house payments to us, and we'll work with the lender. And we'll get you caught up down the road. 3 or 4 months later, they disappear. I've seen quite a few different scams out there.
Wow. What are some of the other scams that people are, do they sometimes call you and say, wait, I heard you on the radio and maybe I did a mistake by sending somebody some money last week. What am I up against here?
And that was the case this week. I'll have clients that come in and they're almost embarrassed because they know that what they did, wasted $2,500, $3,500, $4,000 that, is much needed for that family.
Well, yeah.
They're in financial straits to begin with.
So you're sitting there, you can't make your house payment, and then you scrape together from your relatives and your friends and your boss, hey, I can save my house for $3,500, and then you throw that away.
And, and a lot of times, time is the one thing that you don't have when you start getting behind in house payments. Time is something that you're fighting against. Mm-hmm. And if they end up hiring a company that is out just to take their money, they're wasting a lot of time that they would have had to do some things that they could possibly do to save their home.
And that probably opens the question, and we never talk about dollars and cents on shows, but that opens the area of if somebody is hesitating to call you all when they're getting that first letter, or they know they're not going to make the payment this month, I mean, things can be worked out, right?
If you want to save your home, there's so many different options out there that can help you with that process. And a lot of my homeowners who thought they wanted to save their home after proper counsel realized it wasn't in their best interest to do so. And, we help them with other options there. But the homeowners who genuinely want to stay in their home and it's in their best interest, not only do we try to help counsel them on all of the different options that they have in the mortgage modification arena, but we also help them make some financial decisions as, is it in your best interest? Is the modification sufficient to help you stay in your home?
Oh, okay. So that might open the door for some quick calls. We do have a text from 3052. We're going to get to your text in just a minute, but we're also opening up those phone lines, and Tim is taking your calls. He'll get you screened and get you on the air. Also, if you just hit the open mic feature on the new News 96.5 app, he will preview those, and then he'll play them over the air for Wade Boyette of the BCN Law Firm. This is Law 2020. Give us a call, 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696, or text us just like 3052 did at 21232, 21232. We'll be back. Hey, welcome back. This is called Law 2020. If you want to get a hold of the BCN Law Firm for any of your legal needs, they're always willing to sit down, give you a few minutes of free consultation. And what I really love about these folks is they've been around here a long time. They know the lay of the land, and they know how things work, and they know the people, and they can really reach out, even beyond the law firm. If you need help with just about anything, they know somebody. I mean, they are really plugged into this community, and they help support so many things. You were just helping to support LRMC, one of our great hospitals in the area. And so folks, you know, they're involved in the community. You see them in the Publix. You see them out there shopping. And, okay, let's go through this. Here's a text. Been dealing with a company, XYZ, for over a year now, trying to put in place a modification. Went through a trial modification with them. Nothing is happening. Still no modification. And now they say I'm in foreclosure process since September. This is June.
And
ouch.
And that's not unusual.
God.
The question is did they accept the trial modification and complete the trial modification? If they did, you know, hopefully they will be getting a permanent modification soon. What the lender should do is put on hold the foreclosure while they're going through the modification process. They don't always do that. They'll refer it to a law office, and the foreclosure process will continue. And again, if you don't file an answer to that complaint within 20 days or within the extension period, then your right to defend that foreclosure goes away. And a lot of clients don't do that. They'll think the bank's going to modify it. I'm in a trial modification. I'm going to get a permanent modification, so they'll ignore the foreclosure. And then ultimately they don't get the modification, and their rights to defend the foreclosure is gone.
And you and I have talked about this before, and for a while it looked like there was light at the end of the tunnel, but listeners, you need to be awake of this and aware of this, and Wade will expand on it, and that is something called dual tracking. And that is the bank sends you a foreclosure letter that came from one floor or wing of the bank or location. Then you seek a modification, you're dealing with another one. And you would think up until now with computers that they would have something that say Tim Smith, and they would both compare notes, and it would say in process of modification. For some reason, these people don't talk to one another. They never have dinner together. They don't share the elevator together. And while you're being assured by one guy in the hallway, keep making those lesser payments. Everything's fine. Somebody in the other hallway is foreclosing on your rear end, and you're in trouble. Dual tracking?
Absolutely. And, you know, what we do, you continue through the modification process, but you cannot ignore the foreclosure. And, you know, the foreclosure is your chance to defend yourself with anything that the bank may have done inappropriately or improperly, or that, you know, any collection tactics that the bank's used. This is your time to have your day in court, or at least to have your right to try to extend it and defend yourself as long as possible so that you can get that modification.
And when we're dealing with modification, I mean, we've said this countless times on these airwaves, but we still need to counsel people. This isn't something you do by yourself. You don't just miss a payment, pick up the phone, call the bank, because that first line of defense at the bank is going to always tell you no, right?
Oh, a lot of our clients have been told no 3 or 4 times in the modification process and ultimately do get a favorable modification. We are seeing clients out there that are getting wonderful modifications. We are seeing principal reductions. We're seeing interest rates that are down in a 2%, 3% range. We're seeing terms of the loans extended out past 30 years. We're seeing the banks do things to help the homeowner stay in the home. It's just presenting the information in the right way and being extremely proactive.
Are we seeing any luck with principal reductions?
We are. And I don't want to name the banks on the radio, but there are a few banks out there that have been very generous in principal reductions. And, you know, what we usually see is, and I have probably seen this 20 or 30 times in the last several months, where clients get a principal reduction, and what it says is, you know, we're going to write your mortgage down 100,000, 200,000 if you do the following things. If you make your payments on time for 3 years or 6 years, and then they'll reduce the principals based on you making those timely payments. So yeah, we have definitely seen principal reductions. While you're making those payments, you're only getting charged the principal and interest on the reduced price. So they're saying if you meet the obligation that we've given you, we'll write off that principal.
Wow. Now, is there any caveat in that ever that people need to read the fine print that says, due to appreciation in home values lately, we have the right to modify this up over the terms of the loan? Or, you know.
They should definitely look at the fine print. I have not seen that yet, where the banks come back and say, we want part of the upside. If you sell it, that we don't see as often. What we do see is the banks putting the burden on the homeowner to make timely payments. They're wanting to get you in a position you can afford the payment, but then they want you to stay current on those payments.
All right, we can deal with that. Okay, we do have a non-related text, but let's get to it. Been trying for weeks to find an attorney that would represent me in a small claims court. A contractor did not complete the work.
The contractor did not complete the work, and if it's a small claims court, it's obviously some smaller job that was getting done. Mm-hmm. Give me a call on Monday. It's hard to really answer what we could do for them without knowing any more facts than that. But hopefully you have a contract with the contractor. If you could fax that over, email it, and give me a call on Monday, I'd be glad to take a look at it. I just helped a person out on Friday that they were having the same issue with a pool contractor, small contract, and luckily, without having to go to small claims court, we were actually able to talk to the pool contractor and get it worked out.
That's really nice. So oftentimes a negotiation brings about remedy without having to go to the courthouse.
And that's our ultimate objective.
All right, we kind of like that. Very good. And here's the number you would use to get a hold of the BCN Law Firm. It's very easy. You hear their commercials all the time on the radio. BCN Law Firm, Law 2020, LAW 2020. And that is 855-LAW-2020. Or you could call them if you're around especially if you're around the Claremont area. It's 352-394-2103, 352-394-2103. I'm still that old school that worries about long distance when you don't need to anymore because of new phone plans. Shows how old I am. Wait, I don't know. I'm kind of getting long in the tooth here. It's 12:29. We are, okay. Here is the number, and I'll give it to you once again, 352-394-2103 or 855-LAW-2020, 855-LAW-2020. While we're doing the show, you can play along at home by simply looking up BCN, that is BCN lawfirm.com, bcnlawfirm.com. Get pictures of these guys, a little background on what's going on at the firm, and all the help that they can give you, okay? One more time, 855-LAW-2020 or 352-394-2103. The BCN Law Firm. We'll be back with more with Wade Boyette. Hey, welcome back. Yes, indeed. This is called Law 2020. Law 2020. And we are featuring attorney Wade Boyette. And we certainly hope that you will participate in the program. Any legal questions, and you don't have to use your real name. I think that's a key. You don't have to use your real name if you're embarrassed about it, but do give us your real legal problem, okay? You can call us right now at 855-297-9696. That is 855-297-9696. Text us to 21232, 21232, or go to the all-new News 96.5 app, and right on there it's got an open mic button. You push that, and you say, "Hey, Wade, I need to know about." You got about 20 or 30 seconds there. There's a scale on there that shows you what you got. This is BCN Law Firm Show. It's called Law 2020, bcnlaw.com. And their number is 855-LAW-2020. Let's go to the phones. Richard, how can we help you?
Yes, hi. This is about reducing child support. I was laid off about a year ago, and it took me about 9 months to find a job. and during that time, I paid the full child support and all insurance, and I didn't try to reduce any child support. Once I did find a job, it was a lot lower. I'm saying maybe 75% lower than what I was making before. So I need to reduce the child support, but I printed out the sheets that you could get online, and it's over an inch thick. And I was wondering, is it that much easier to use an attorney, and what is the length of the process, and what are the costs that incur with that?
Yeah, what I would do, Richard, is make an appointment with Brian Monk in my office. You should be able to find out within 30 minutes or so, if you can reduce your child support. It's a calculation that you go through, and what we'll do is we'll get your financial information. We'll determine, based on your current income, if the amount of child support you are currently paying is excessive. And if it is excessive, then we can go in and we can try to modify your child support. But yeah, I would definitely.
What is the length of the process, though, once you start? Because, I mean, if she fights it, which I'm sure she would, does that take months?
It does take months. I mean, you're not going to get it done, overnight. Unfortunately, you're going to have to file a petition with the court, and you're going to have to go through the legal process to get it reduced.
Okay, and there's no way you could say, well, for the last 10 months I've been paying it. Can I do this? It's from as soon as you win the case, correct?
That's correct. What I wish you would have done is when you were unemployed, that would have been a perfect time for you to come in.
Yeah,
and us to get it reduced. But that didn't happen, so let's see what we can do now to get your child support reduced.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we do have a great offer for you because we want to salute you. And again, today's salute will go out to whom? And Wade, and what are we going to give them?
Really, anyone that is in the public service sector, nurses, police officers, firefighters. Every week we want to give the first two that calls the ability to get a free power of attorney, healthcare power, and living will done. It's a way that we're going to try to give back every week from our law firm to the public service community.
That's great. So give us a call right now. If you've got a legal question and you fit that description that Wade just gave, you're going to get a couple of free services from the law firm. The number to call is 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. If you're tuning in late, this is Law 2020. In the first half hour, we talked about some modification scams. Some of you are desperate. Some of you feel like you might lose your home. You don't know where to turn, and maybe you're hesitant to call an attorney because you're worried about cost. I think we established that shouldn't be a problem. But then some of you fall prey to some of these people that are unscrupulous, and they're going to try to take your money. But second on our docket today, Wade, what do you want to cross?
Well, one of the things that, one of the callers talked earlier is, what happens if you're served with a lawsuit?
Oh boy.
What's that process? You get this knock at the door, and this process server standing out there, he shows you his badge, and he hands you this packet of paper and says, you've just been served a lawsuit. And, and we can talk in terms of a foreclosure lawsuit here, since we were talking about modifications. What do you do? And most clients, when they get that package, really have no idea what to do with it. Mm-hmm. And, usually they immediately freak out, or they, a lot of times what they do is they think, I need to answer this lawsuit. I need to respond because the front cover sheet says you have to respond within 20 days. And they sit down at their computer and they write out a response. And unfortunately, their response most times are based on emotion and not based on their legal arguments that they could establish in a formal answer. So, the process, what does a foreclosure look like? What is the process of a foreclosure? How much time does a family really have once they're served that complaint?
Let me follow you up on this. When you're talking about being brought any kind of a service like that, aren't there some nuances in the law as well as, okay, let's say that you get home at 6 o'clock and your next door neighbor walks over and says, hey, some process server was trying to get a hold of you, so I took it instead.
Yeah. Process servers have to follow rules on how you're properly served. And in that case, there would not be proper service. So they can't just serve anyone. They can't go to your neighbor's house, knock on the door, and give them the paper. They either have to serve you, or they can serve other people in your household. But this is pretty stringent on what they have to do to give you proper notice that you have been served a lawsuit.
Let me ask you this. I've got a friend who is in a very small town in Central Florida, and you and I know the small towns of Lake County, and the process server went store to store down Main Street saying, I know he's on this block someplace, but I can't remember the address. Is there legal recourse against him? Because he defamed the person he was going to give that. He even said, I've got a subpoena to give him, or whatever it was.
Unfortunately, he can walk around asking if that person's here. He just can't go into what is in that complaint and what it is. Because it's public knowledge. Whenever a lawsuit is filed, it's public knowledge.
Okay. Wow. All right. Okay, let's go with Sandy in New Smyrna Beach, and we've got a text or two to do. But Sandy, what's going on?
Hi. How y'all doing today?
Doing wonderful,
Hey,
Sandy.
First of all, what do you do for a living? Do you qualify for some of the free services that we're giving out today?
Well, I hope so. I don't do much of anything except for enjoy this community to the most.
Okay. Well, let's see what we can do to help you.
I drive New Smyrna Beach Taxi.
Do you really?
Oh, cool.
Well,
yes,
I love New Smyrna
Beach. I started up a new
Beach.
business down here, and we live here, and we take care of our community down here, and we just love it.
Well, and I love New Smyrna Beach too. That's a beautiful community.
Sure
what
is.
can I do to help you, Sandy?
I have got something very sad to tell you. If you love New Smyrna Beach, through my service here in town and being a community member, which I want to retire, I want to live here the rest of my life. The city commissioners are trying to tear down the breakers and make it a parking lot. They're not issuing permits for repair because they want it to be condemned so that they can take over eminent domain and tear down the breakers and put up a parking lot. And there's a lot of us very concerned. We'd like to know how to change their mind, if we can make it into a historical position or if we should do a petition, but we don't know how. We have no idea what legal avenues to take to prevent this from happening. The breakers should not be taken down.
Well,
it's Joni Mitchell did that song, didn't she?
Yeah.
Destroy paradise and put up a parking lot. Oh, there you go. You have a theme song.
Well, Sandy, let me tell you what I would do. Usually what politicians listen to the people. And if you can get enough signatures together that it would sway some votes, because this is something that the commission will have to vote on. And if you can show up with a couple hundred people, 400 or 500 people, I think the politicians, they listen. So what I would do is I would spend my efforts in trying to get enough people in the community to back the position that you have. And if you have enough people who feel the same as you, it shouldn't be hard.
Then all I need to do is find out when the commission meeting is on this and make sure I make things happen prior to that date.
Absolutely. If people are loud enough, politicians love getting reelected. And so if they know if they have enough people out in the community that's not going to be happy with a vote to do something such as this, a lot of times their mind can be swayed.
Sandy, I might also offer that sometimes you can get the media in an area like that to help you out on things. And I do know that some of your media up there is very locally based and very responsive. So you may want to drop in and say hi to them somewhere along the line. And you got a local radio station up there. You got some newspapers that serve that area. You might see which side of the game they're going to play up there. 12:48. When we come back, we've got text and we'll take your calls. You can call us right now. Wade Boyette is waiting for your call. 855-297-9696. I'll give you contact information on the law firm when we get back after three big things you need to know. Welcome back to the show. This is Law 2020. We feature Wade Boyette. Wade Boyette is from the BCN Law Firm. Also, from time to time, we'll get Heath Nalos on here. We'll get Brian Monk, and they all represent the BCN Law Firm. You can reach that law firm during the week at 352-394-2103, 352-394-2103, or 855-LAW-2020, 855-LAW-2020, BCNLawFirm.com. If you want to call into the show right now, we welcome that. 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696, or text us at 21232. Okay. Tim, I'm going to need to find out whether that top text is related to the text under it, which it's not. Okay. What kind of deed is needed to relinquish a life estate? Holder of the life estate is in a nursing home.
If the holder of the life estate is competent, and I'm going to assume that she is, even though she, in a nursing home, all you would need is a quitclaim deed relinquishing the life estate interest. It'd be a very simple deed to do. You're just, when you transfer real estate, you can either transfer the whole, which is called the fee simple interest, or you can transfer part of the interest, which is the interest in the life estate. So all we would need to do is a quitclaim deed. Give me a call on Monday, and that's something that could be done within minutes.
Very cool. All right. Thank you, 9492. Okay, here's one question. My mother is 68 years old, single. Her income is below $1,700 a month. Her mortgage is $628. She has excellent credit and has never skipped a payment. The problem is we need to know if there's more to the story here. She may be saying, can Mom get any kind of a modification?
And Mom may be able to get some modification. What the general benchmark that the banks are looking for is your mortgage payment should be no more than 31% of your gross income. And based on this, she's close. You're looking at a payment at $1,700 of about $5 something a month. So there is a chance that we could work with her, talk to the bank, and see if we could get her, mortgage payment reduced possibly $100, maybe a little bit more.
Well, that would help out. Anything helps, and
absolutely,
and especially in retirement.
And when you're on a fixed income, and that's one of the things that we also express to the lender. And a lot of times it's not a matter of them doing anything other than maybe extending the amortization period.
Mm-hmm. All right, you are served with papers. What do you need to do first? What do you think, Wade?
First thing is, you don't have to freak out. You've got time to, call an attorney that handles whatever type of case that you were served for. For example, if it's a foreclosure case, you'd give us a call. What you should do is just sit down and, see what your rights and see what your options are. It may be a case that you need to spend some money and defend properly. It may be a case where you're just not, you're okay with losing your home. You're upside down. You've lost your job. There isn't a modification's not going to help you. There are other things that we can do to keep a foreclosure off your record. We could try to work with the bank to do a deed in lieu. So if you are served any type of lawsuit, sit down with an attorney to figure out, what are your options going forward? What is a good game plan?
Okay. So in other words, I think from what you're telling us, do not just pick up the phone and call the bank and start arguing.
Don't pick up the phone. Don't sit down and write that, this is what happened to me letter, because usually that doesn't do any good. Unfortunately, what happens is you send in that letter and you've missed your right to bring up some of the defenses that you may have that are available to us.
And there may have been problems with the procedures of the bank or any kind of things. But the other thing I'm thinking of is you could dig yourself a big hole if you sit down emotionally. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. And emotionally, I sit down and I write, here's what happened to me. I was working for the Chevy dealer down the street, and he got in trouble, so I haven't been paid in 6 months, and I'm not sure if I've got a job. Well, didn't I just dig myself a hole as to whether I can repay that mortgage at all?
Correct. And,
stupid.
A lot of the complaints that we see filed do have deficiencies, and one of our first procedural tactics is to file what's called a motion to dismiss the lawsuit based on a procedural error. And if you file that answer and you miss your right to file that motion to dismiss, what you've done is you've lost several months that you could have had to try to get your defenses established.
All right, very good. So you got it right there. If you want to contact the BCN Law Firm during the week, okay, what you might want to do is just simply pick up your phone. Why don't you get this number right now? Create a contact in your smartphone. It is 352-394-2103. That is 352-394-2103 or 855-LAW-2020. 855-LAW-2020. If you're like me, you'll be singing that the rest of the day. It's kind of a jingle. And anyway, remember, the BCN Law Firm has people there to help you in any matter of law, including criminal, right?
We do. We have a full criminal practice, personal injury practice, real estate practice. We have 11 attorneys and about 40 staff members there to help you.
Can I touch base on that for a minute? You said real estate attorneys. An awful lot of people think, I'm going to go to the realtor. I'm going to get this taken care of. I may have a realtor representing me in the transaction. Oh, heck, there's a title company. Why do I need an attorney? Ooh.
I see that all the time. And, usually they're doing it out of fear that it's going to cost money. And I can tell you 90% of the time it is the same price or it's cheaper to hire a real estate attorney who's been doing real estate law for years than it is to go hire a title company to take care of your real estate transaction.
And really, wouldn't it be smart to also sit down with that attorney, not only to review the contract, review what that person's supposed to give you at closing, washers, dryers, stuff like that, but also to look over things that you might want to think about on your homesteading?
Absolutely. There's a lot of other issues that go along in buying a home, such as how to take title to property, etc.
All right. We'll see you next week, right?
Absolutely. Let's go enjoy a beautiful Sunday.